United States universities are shedding their DEI strategy faster than you can say hello. Why is this happening? Well, for one thing, federal funding. The Trump administration has been ruthlessly going about cutting off funding, and this is basically hurting the bottom line. Also, remember, viewers, there is a myth that the good schools have good professors. Nothing could be further from the truth. Most of the professors, once they get tenure, don't even give lectures, like probably one a day or something like that. And beyond that, much of the stuff is being done by the teaching assistants, like the research assistants and the teaching assistants. Those are the ones picking up the slack, including grading these exams. Now, how does one get tenure? What is tenure? Tenure is the thing that ensures you guaranteed employment at a university. And to get tenure for any university, what the professor has to do, they have like 5 years or something, or 3 years, I don't remember the exact time, within which they need to bring in a lot of research grants. Once the research grants are here, that's what gives them the tenure, not how well they are as a teacher. In other words, the universities reward only those professors who get good research grants. Guess what is now being withheld? Research grants. But these are all tenured faculty with fat salaries. What do the universities do now? That is a huge problem, and you're going to see a fair amount of shakedown, especially in the upper echelons of the universities, such as the Ivy League schools, the UC system, and so on and so forth. We'll wait and see how this goes. But what I'm also seeing is a trend where one university after another is throwing in the towel and is saying that, okay, we will abide by your rules, we will not enforce DEI. So bad news for those who are, proponents of the DEI. They need to figure out a way to actually do a work and not expect that, regardless of what they are to start with in terms of capability, that they are going to get equal outcome. That is not happening anymore. At least in this term, it won't happen. It's possible it might make a comeback, but I think this is something that people also have to realize, that the DEI thing has been, taking a 0.1% problem that is in United States and making it as if it's much, much bigger. That's my 2 cents. You can agree with me or disagree with me. I have a small slide deck to share with you about what is happening. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and also like this video. Here we go.
Vaidyagrama Healing Village. It's a little piece of heaven on earth that's hiding its plain sight.
What's so rare about Vaidyagrama is the opportunity to just receive so much deep nourishment and care.
As the US universities start losing funding, are they ready to accept the new order? That's what is the question that we are going to try and answer here. What happened? In February 2025, at Trump's urging, the National Institutes of Health, NIH, announced cuts of over $4 billion for universities, affecting administrative and facilities expenses tied to federal research grants. So now you see how much money has been withheld. The cuts targeted high-cost research universities such as Harvard, Johns Hopkins, and Yale, which often have indirect rates of about 60%. What are these indirect rates? This is something that, it's not explained very clearly, but it's always given as an item saying that this is the indirect expense in when they try to say how they spent the money. And now the Trump administration is taking a deeper look at how this money was dispersed. And now Trump allies are accusing universities of using indirect funds as slush funds, no less, slush funds, for progressive causes like the DEI programs. By the way, the United States could be calling Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization, and that by inference means that CAIR in the United States is in trouble. Wait for that. Wait for an update on that one. It will come soon. Universities deny misuse but acknowledge political pressure to reform reimbursement methods. In March 2024, so this is building up. In February, some things happened, $4 billion was held back. In March 2025, a federal district court in Boston blocked Trump's proposed 15% cap. The national average is 30%, ruling against the administration. The case is now on appeal. So what that means is that, see, any business, right, they'll have overheads. Usually the overheads are salaries, the other expenses such as, stock option related expenses or paid time off expenses, and administering the whole thing. All these things are, usually in any company is put at 30%. But what the Trump administration wanted to do was to cut it down to 15%, 1 5. There are many reasons for that. Even HR is now being handled by other companies such as Trinet. They take, I think, 10% or 5% of your actual money outlay, and like the total salaries you give, and then from that they run the entire thing. They'll pay all the federal taxes, the state taxes, file all the forms. They'll take care of the other requirements, OSHA, etc., based on the type of business that is being run. Republican senators Susan Collins from Maine and Katie Britt from Alabama joined Democrats in opposing Trump's cap, citing harm to public universities in their states. So basically, people have got used to this fatness, and now they don't want to cut back. One thing that happened in the high-tech industry is that once the COVID wore off and people started saying that you need to come back to work 5 days a week or 4 days a week or something like that, then they also realized that they were paying way too much salaries to many people. So they were given an option. Either you take a hefty cut, like even up to 50 to 60%, or you take a payoff and leave. So a lot of people took the payoff and left from the Magnificent Seven companies. Now, what is happening is the actual salaries have come down quite a bit now. So something like this needs to happen at the university levels also. All these highfalutin professors, they need to deal with the reality, and less golf and more teaching is what I would say. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Congress inserted appropriations bill language barring the administration from unilaterally changing the indirect cost system. So even the Congress has inserted an appropriations bill. So it's not just the universities that are against the Trump administration. Many in the Congress, including two Republican senators, are against him. But there has been other things in play. Universities have come back with a strategic response called the FAIR Plan. It has been led by Kelvin Drogemeyer. He is a former Trump science policy advisor. Universities and institutions have crafted a plan called Financial Accountability in Research, FAIR. Option 1, itemized accounting of indirect project costs. Option 2, fixed percentage of a project's budget, similar to standard tax deduction. Nobody is going to like this, guys. The professors, they have reasons for this. It's not that they don't, but it's not the professors and the research that itself that I question. I question the fat that gets taken out from the top before the money comes down to specific projects. That's where the attention needs to be paid, because it's from there that you get into all these other situations, like which student organization to fund, which one to ban, which one to not even grow roots, things of that nature. This FAIR Plan is intended to be efficient and transparent, meeting administration's demand for accountability while avoiding deep funding cuts. It involves collaboration with hospitals, research institutes, and private foundations. Now, this has engaged lawmakers from both parties and have begun discussions with the Office of the Management and Budget, saying that, look, we are going to implement this FAIR Plan, and according to this, you're going to get a lot more transparency into where the indirect funding is headed. A sticking point is that the OMB wants assurance of cost reductions, which the universities have resisted promising. We don't want to promise it. We think we'll be able to reduce. So this is all, obfuscation with words. The real thing is when the universities actually start cutting back. Lot of fat guys. You remember what happened in UC Berkeley, right? When they wanted to have a new organization for the Hindus, the person responsible had other organizations to vote on whether they would like to include a new organization. All these organizations are the same, but they had to vote on whether they wanted to allow this Hindu organization, and they actually voted down. And today the UCB is up in arms. This kind of discrimination, all this nonsense has to stop. What did Trump do? Trump issued an executive order directing federal agencies to prefer universities with lower indirect costs when awarding research grants. So this is a direct hit at the top echelons of the universities, including UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego. All of them, if you take any university rankings, right, in the top 20, you will see the Ivy League schools, many of them, and you'll also see the 3 UC system schools. These are right there at the top. And all places I'm seeing a lot of sloth, and that needs to be trimmed, in my opinion. And that's what the Trump administration is taking fair and square aim. Now, this is seen as a direct tactic to pressure high-cost institutions to adopt lower reimbursement models. It also means that they have less money to play around with, to splurge on, things like fighting for the cause of a Palestinian organizer who calls, death to Israel and things of that nature. You get my point, right? Now, let's take a look at what is happening with Harvard, because I'm going to go university by university now. Each university, what are they doing to fight this? Harvard is facing billions in frozen or stripped multi-year research grants, and this is resulting in at least $1 billion per year in losses. That's a lot of money, even for a hallowed institution like Harvard. See, the thing is, they have a lot of grants and they have this endowments, but the endowments are also conditioned. They can't take the endowment money and put it in research, because the endowment money specifies that, okay, I am giving this endowment so that you can elect or you can select or you can give the money to a particular ethnicity person and for this particular field of research. It is quantified very, very clearly. They can't use that money for something else. If nobody shows up, then that money gets deferred, and the next year they'll again take a look at it. So these kinds of things means that Harvard is actually more dependent on federal funding than many of the smaller institutions, and that's why Harvard is fighting tooth and nail. They are trying their best to try and fight these in courts. Let's see how this thing goes. Now, what also happened was Commerce Secretary Lutnick accused Harvard of breaching legal and contractual obligations related to federally funded research and mismanaging patents arising from such work. So this is the other interesting thing. So the federal government funds the money for a research, and from the research emerge a few patents. Who gets access to these patents? Because patents have to be assigned to somebody. The assignment is the person who funds these programs. But it is believed that Harvard does not assign the federal government as the assignee, but instead, I think they use Harvard's own entity as the assignee. And the assignee shall be the one who will make the money whenever this gets distributed, or if they get patent related income. All that stuff goes to the assignee company, not to the federal grant. So get the money from federal government, use it to create patents, and then enforce the patents in the commerce, in the industry, get the money, and this is another source of income for universities like Harvard. Now, what the Commerce Secretary is saying, that he has initiated the Bayh-Dole Act, both were senators, march-in rights process to potentially seize or relicense Harvard patents. That means they want to say, okay, if we funded it, goddamn it, we should be the assignee, not Harvard. So what has Lutnick done? He has demanded within 4 weeks a list of all federally funded patents, the associated usage and the licensing terms, and evidence of compliance with US manufacturing requirement. Now, how many patents that Harvard have? Close to 5,800 plus, and 900 plus licenses with 650 plus industry partners. This is a big amount of money, guys, a lot of money. So Harvard is right now fighting tooth and nail in different courts, but I think eventually the Trump administration will prevail. There has been a lot of slot, so that needs to come out. And many of these liberal art programs, they'll have to look at their content very seriously. With so much available on internet, students don't really need to even go to Harvard, spend the kind of money that they have to spend to go and get an education there. So this is a huge reset button for the universities overall. Now let's take a look at the other universities. Columbia University agreed to a $221 million settlement to have its federal funding restored. Brown University agreed to invest $50 million over 10 years in workforce development in exchange for receiving over $50 million in grants, along with making alleged social policy concessions, such as doing away with their DEI program. And they're also going to be ending racial quotas, restricting gender-affirming care, and addressing anti-Semitism. All these things. Brown has been given a long list. The University of Pennsylvania, another Ivy League, all these three are Ivy League, so is Harvard. UPenn reached a deal in July 2025, though the terms were not disclosed. Next, Cornell and Northwestern are close to finalizing agreements following severe funding freezes. I forgot to check if Northwest also is Ivy League. Cornell is an Ivy League university. Critics argue that these settlements compromise both academic freedom and institutional autonomy. Well, you can have all that on the money you create, you make. See, this is where the problem comes. The research community, the professor's salary is a bunch of that money that is completely dependent on these research grants. I'll give you a simple example. The university shuts down for 3 months in summer, and they don't pay their professors' salaries during those 3 months. For those 3 months, it is expected that the professors go and get funding from somewhere. It could be commercial places also. You think a company like Google, if it gives funding, it's going to just say that, okay, I want you to do this, and leave you? No, they'll have a total template. There'll be somebody will be sitting in on status meetings, asking questions: who did what, how much, what am I getting for my buck, all sorts of things. Whereas the federal government is much more benign. They just give you the money and leave you alone. You see the point, right? That many professors are completely dependent on these funds for their summer incomes. So any which way you take it, this is not going to be easy, and it's going to be something where they have to really grind down and say, okay, we got to figure out a new way of doing all these things. So what has happened in Northwestern University is that these cuts have resulted in layoffs of over 400 jobs, and this just to save 5% in labor costs. 400 jobs just to save 5% in labor costs. And not only that, there are hiring freezes and austerity measures at major research institutions. This is just one university, Northwestern. See, this is like losing federal defense contracts for contractors like Raytheon. Raytheon is a company that is completely or 95% dependent on federal contract. If they lose that, the business just completely collapses. Now you understand why the military industrial complex is so dependent on creating wars in every corner of the world, because they need to get money from the Department of Defense, and in order for that, they need to create under somewhere. This demonstrates the university's dependence on federal research funding. Bitter truth, guys. Many of my friends are all faculties. They wouldn't like the truth, but this is the truth, that they need to do some belt tightening. This happens in the industry, viewers. If your industry, your technology, starts going down, you need to tighten your belt, and you need to adjust to a new reality. Now, this political and social context for this is that this crackdown is part of a broader conservative push against universities accused of liberal bias, like DEI, like, for example, poking fun at Hindu festivals. All these things are all done with a very, very clear objective to try and run down one community, whether it is anti-Semitism or Hindu phobia. They're all done with somebody sitting behind and saying, let's go after these people, let's go after these people, especially Hindus, because they don't fight back. They don't stand to a person and say, okay, we are not taking this lying down anymore, we are going to fight. That's why there's like the soft underbelly that's being attacked. So what has this thing targeted? The Trump administration's initiative targeted. It has squarely targeted the DEI program, but not only that, gender changer operation stuff, all that things, and the propensity of these universities to allow liberally the Gaza protest to take place, where it was found that more than the students, it was people from outside who were gathering there because the TV cameras were there, so they wanted to show huge numbers. The measures also include visa revocations and deportations of academics. You saw that one Palestinian guy being deported, and then he moved the court and got stay order. I don't know where the latest on that is, but clearly the heat is being felt by the universities. So what is Harvard's current stance? It seems that they are willing to settle with the federal government for a $500 million fine, according to the New York Times. As always, the Harvard president said that no, there is no such thing as happening. This is usual, okay? Until the thing happens, they want to stay tight-lipped. And there's also a theory that doing the rounds that Harvard prefers a court settlement. After all, many of the alum from Harvard are the judges now. Maybe they think that some of them will rule in their way. So that's the other thing that Harvard has hopes on. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Now, it's also possible that there could be further escalations vis-a-vis Harvard. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. But the takeaway here is Trump's administration is going very aggressively to cut many indirect research funding expenses. This is where they are really taking a hammer to, and they are saying, look, we need to really cut back on this. And it's a known fact. There is a lot of padding that happens there, and a lot of administrators have been given, their only role is to try and get money from here, divert it there, that sort of stuff. And all that stuff is now being cut back. So there's a fair amount of pain that is going to be faced by many of these universities. And with the foreign admissions also coming down, I really hate to guess how 5 years from now the university systems are going to be. Also, with online education being so prolific now, will that also make a huge difference in the way people learn new things? These days, many programmers learn on the job. They have to learn a new tool, they have to jump into it with both feet, and they have to come up to speed very quickly. This is now the order of the day. Only those who are able to do this and thrive are the ones who are being retained. So much churn going on at the workplace also. I feel bad for the current youth who are going through all these things. I don't think the universities prepared them for what they are facing at the workplace now. So I want to say again that these are all things where you took one side to the extreme, and if they had stayed at the center, a lot of things would have been easy. For example, there are many private universities that you don't hear much about. Rice University, for example, or Brandeis. They don't really, get into all these kinds of things. Their focus is very clear. So many universities exist like that, where they know exactly what they are going to do, what they are offering their students, and everything is very clear cut. That's how it should be, in my opinion. So we'll have to see what happens. While Harvard is defiant, many other universities have decided to throw in the towel, and they are working with the Trump administration. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.